Good evening. I'm Mayor Javier Figueroa, and I'm calling the regular meeting of the University Place City Council for Monday, December the 2nd, 2024 to order. And with that, will the city clerk do the roll call?
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Boykin is excused. Councilmember Worthington.
Present.
Councilmember McCluskey.
I'm here.
Councilmember Fleming.
Here.
Councilmember Grossi.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Wood.
Present.
Mayor Figueroa.
Present.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. And will Councilmember Worthington lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Thank you. It would be my honor. For those of you who can, please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll move on to item number 4, approval of the agenda. And may I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Are there any objections to approving the agenda? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. So we're item number 5, public comments. And right now, do we have anybody online?
No one online, Mayor?
Okay, and we do have somebody that signed in for comment, and Ms. Chris Saunders, will you please come up? And you have 3 minutes. Make sure your mic is on. Please state your name. And if you can
go. Hi, I'm Chris Saunders, and I'm just here to talk to you about what United for University Place is doing. We are partnering with Happy Duo Cafe to provide a Christmas Carol sing-along at Happy Duo. On Saturday, December 21st, from 2 to 4, we will have a blend of traditional Christmas carols and modern day music. Also, Derek's sons will do the intermission and play piano and violin. So if you're interested in coming, we'd love to have you come out. We'd love to see some community members there and support both Happy Duo and this community gathering. So there you go. That's all. You guys, Merry Christmas to everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Same to you.
Yeah.
anyone that didn't sign in to comment, is there anyone here present from the public that would like to have any comments? I don't see anyone approaching the council, so with that, I'll close the public comments section. And moving on to before I move on to the next item, I'd like to just, Mr. Sugg, if you can, I think that's hopefully it's appropriate to have that activity on our website. Maybe you can also email the details to the council for that last activity with one of our businesses downstairs. Item number 6A through 6P, consent agenda. Call for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. And a second.
Are there any objections to approving the consent agenda? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. And moving on to item number 7, public hearing and council consideration, which is for the 2025-2026 biennium budget adoption. And we have a staff report by Ms. Leslie Blaisdell, our finance director.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'm Leslie Blaisdell, Finance Director. The 2025-26 proposed budget process has been a lengthy one. The 25-26 document was submitted to the City Clerk on September 29th in accordance with RCW 35A34. We held 3 study sessions on October 7th, where we reviewed revenues, October 21st for expenditures, community grants, and new items, and November 4th, where we reviewed capital improvement projects. 3 public hearings were held on October 21st, November 4th, and November 18th to gather feedback and input from our residents. No public comments were received at any of those meetings. The packet material is the ordinance with the backup Exhibit A1 and A2, which is the fund level budget. This does include any changes that were discussed during the study sessions. We made some adjustments to CIPs and some little adjustments along the way. All of that has been brought into this document. And very quickly, before I wrap up, I do want to thank all the city staff for their hard work and dedication throughout the budget process. They get tired of hearing from me over the last few months. I do know how much effort goes into preparing it. And then, lastly, I'd like to thank City Council for their continued engagement in the process. Your commitment to the process is invaluable. And that completes my report.
And as always, allow for time for council to have any clarification questions on the report before we move on to public comment. Did you raise your hand? No, okay. I don't see. Oh,
Yeah, sorry.
Council Member McCluskey.
Yeah, I was thinking about not asking it, but I think I'm going to ask it because we had brought up the splash park and the CIP clarification for the use of funds, and also you have that placeholder in place for the splash pad at the Market Square. Right, that's tracking and going forward in this budget.
That one was taken out of the 25-26 for staff to look at it. It has remained on the CIP list as an unfunded project.
Unfunded, okay. That's what I was
so that
wondering.
once it gets all figured out, it can be put back in.
Right, thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to public comment, and anyone online,
No one online, Mayor?
and anyone here present from the public that would like to come up and provide a comment. Seeing none, approaching the diocese, I'm closing the public comment, and actually, let me correct, this will be an open public hearing. Just is still a comment? Okay, thank you. I want to make sure of the difference. So at this point, I'd like to call for a motion to consider adoption of the 25-26 biennium budget.
Mayor, I move to pass an ordinance adopting the 2025-2026 biennial budget.
I second.
Okay, so we have a first and second. Comments, questions, debate on the budget. So, Councilmember Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have a quick comment. I just want to say, typically, when you look at budgets, we're always kind of fighting and bickering and looking at the nickels and dimes. But Leslie, I just want to say thanks to you and the staff for a great job this year in putting together what I consider a very rock-solid budget for the city, and one that I think we can all live with, and one that's conservative, that really takes into account a lot of things at this time of year. So great job. So thank you. That's all.
Oh, that's all. Councilmember McCluskey.
Thank you, Mayor. I like to also ditto Councilmember Fleming's remarks and your remarks about what a wonderful job and process you put together from your staff all the way up to the council, taking it in bit chunks and was very helpful, and I like that process. And to be able to dive deeper into each of the funds, which the public is not hearing right now, but there was a lot of good discussion, good questions, and so I'm very confident that this budget will be great value to our city in the next 2 years. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Worthington.
Thank you, Mayor Figueroa. Just wanted to also add, I too believe it's a very solid budget. I think the estimates that have been put forward, we've all had a chance to look at them. I think they are very likely to be absolutely not perfectly correct, but pretty darn close to what's really going to happen. And that's what we do in the budgeting process. The other thing that I wanted, or other things I wanted to touch on, I thought it was a very good process, one I have faith in. both in terms of the opportunity for public outreach, but also in the details that my fellow council members and I were able to push and hear about and understand what was going on to help our community. And then finally, I think the big driver for this budget, as well it should be, is council goals. And I appreciate City Manager Steve Sugg, as well as Mayor Figueroa and fellow council members in helping that be the focus of the budget as well. It's the type of thing that I think we can move forward with. Look forward to voting.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Wood.
Thank you, Mayor. My comment is I'd just like to, it's not just this particular budget cycle, but we've now been through this at least a few times since I've been here on council, whether it's the biennial budget or the annual review. And I just have to say thank you that there are so few surprises. We don't end up at the end of the year wondering where the heck we're going to have to come up with $500,000 for something because we over budgeted or underplanned or whatever you want to say. I just really appreciate the conservative nature of how we manage our budget. Thank you.
Okay, I have a comment. And I think that this budget really does reflect is due to a lot of hard work for the last few years of constraining ourselves on how we do business, saving. Maybe I should back up. One of the core duties of this council is to have a balanced budget, to have money in reserves in case of emergencies, to have a healthy ending fund balance at the end of the year, to start off the year correctly. There's a lot of moving parts, and we don't have we didn't get here to this particular budget because it happened overnight. It happened because of a lot of decision making that occurred in the last 10 years. Is not overnight, meaning it doesn't happen in 2 or 3 years or 4 years. It's an ongoing process. That being said, this year, part of this whole budget, this year, we voted on a decision to utilize an ending fund balance of several $1 million to pay off bond debt that we had accrued 15 years ago. And that was a very positive thing, because now, and it will happen next year when we pay off that bond debt. Is it next year or 26?
2026.
2026. But we decided to vote on it now for the main purpose to be able to do these estimates that we're talking about. Trying to estimate the budget, where we're going to spend, but all that cannot be done when you have certain debt hanging over any organization or even a household. But I also want to give credit to our community. Volunteers, they do so much in our community that saves us money. Things that we would have to pay or staff up to get things done. So our community has really provided a huge relief in how we do our finances in our community. And that being said, our community and how they're volunteers, but also grants that we receive from the state, from federal grants that are representatives, because this is a teamwork. This is not just our city, but we have representatives that represent our community, our state representatives, our county representatives. I know the county gave us some money, like, for example, one of our CERT Park projects, and our federal representatives. They work hard to bring in dollars that if they didn't, and we didn't receive those grants, there's a lot that we wouldn't do, because there's no way that our community can afford the taxation. And the last part, and that is that the big one was the public safety levy that was passed by our community. Without that, we would not have this budget looking like this. So we have to thank all of this community, along with staff and council, for the success of this budget. So thank you. And I think we're done with this one. Oh, the motion we need to do a roll call.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Worthington.
Aye.
Councilmember McCluskey.
Aye.
Councilmember Fleming.
Aye.
Councilmember Grassi.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Wood,
Aye.
Mayor Figueroa.
Aye.
Mayor, vote result 6-0 for the ayes.
Thank you. We'll move on to item number 8, public hearing for the comprehensive plan adoption. And we have a staff report of Kevin Brisky, Community and Economic Development Director, and Kenneth George, Planning Manager.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor, City Council. Tonight, the staff would like to present to the council for council consideration an ordinance amending the city's comprehensive plan for compliance with the 2024 periodic update as required by the Growth Management Act. This process has been underway for over 2 years now, and it's something that I think we've produced, staff has produced with a lot of help, a product that I think the community should feel very proud about. The Planning Commission held 15 meetings to go over the comprehensive plan, to make the recommendation, to review it and gather input before making their recommendation to the City Council. The City Council's held 4 study sessions where we went over all of the different chapters and presented those to the Council and responded to any of your questions. So with that, just like to once again thank our consultant LDC who helped out, the Planning Commission who put in many hours on this, our staff as well, and a special thanks to our communications, Linda and Amanda. We got some help from them on formatting to create what I think is a very readable, I like to say just a pretty document, the way it ended up with a great cover page and so on. And with that, conclude the staff report.
Well, before I move on to an open public hearing, I'd like to make sure if there's any clarification of what has been presented to us. This is a good time. So, anyone? Mayor Pro Tem Wood.
Actually, if you could just take, for the benefit of the people in the room and anybody watching online, take 60 seconds to describe what the comprehensive plan does for our community.
The comprehensive plan, it's the guiding document for essentially all of our city municipal code. It's kind of the vision for the city over the next 20 years. It's something that also has to, so the community has great input into that vision, and it helps guide our policies and growth over the next 20 years. And various outside agencies also are involved in the review and approval as well.
Thank you.
Seeing nobody else, we'll move on to, this is an official open public hearing for the comprehensive plan adoption. Is there anyone online?
No one online, Mayor.
Anyone here in the public that would like to comment on the adoption of the plan? I don't see anyone coming forward, so we'll close the public hearing for the comprehensive plan adoption. And we'll move on to council consideration, call for a motion to consider the adoption of the comprehensive plan periodic update.
Mayor, I move to pass an ordinance adopting the comprehensive plan amendments consistent with the 2024 periodic update requirements in the Growth Management Act, RCW 35.70 alpha, .1305 alpha.
Second.
Okay, comment and discussion. So, Councilmember Fleeman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And Kevin, thank you for that really beautiful synopsis of what this plan is, because you're able to take something that is one of the most complicated documents in government, especially in local government, and gel it down to a few sentences. I was impressed with that. I think, you know, when you look at all the stuff that you and the staff and council works on, this is one of those really tough documents. And again, to echo what I said earlier about the budget, job well done this year. That's a tough road to hoe, and you guys did a great job on that one, so thank you for the work.
Councilmember McCluskey.
Thank you, Mayor. I echo the sentiments of Councilmember Fleming, and also you congratulating and thanking the people that came together to create this complex document. There's a lot of things that were transitioned out of it, but it's not lost. It's somewhere else on a separate document. And I'd like to also thank the Planning Commission. I mean, that's a lot of public hearings. That's a lot of heavy lifting to do, so the council can have it vetted out before it comes to the dais. And for the most part, I like how it's guiding the livability and the values and the characters throughout our city. I don't like some of the state mandates which we had to massage and place into it. And I know it was very difficult to massage some of the things that may not be that great of a fit for University Place at this point in time, but to massage it in such a way that the city doesn't lose its essence. You know, it doesn't lose its character, and we can create some of the visions that we incorporated with to keep it livable, walkable, and to have people with a lot of abilities have a lot of open space so they can breathe and find a little bit of peace in their home environment without the total densification. When we do densify, to allow a place for them to go and relax and enjoy the city of University Place. And that's why we're unique. And when people drive through our city, they do see it, and they do like how we are becoming. And I get those comments all the time and those compliments. And it's because of the hard work that your staff has done, and also the Planning Commission coming together to ensure that the grassroots vision doesn't change even with the pressures of the outside government agencies. So, thank you.
Councilmember Worthington.
Thank you, Mayor Figueroa. And Mr. Persky, thank you, and you and Kevin, Keith as well. In any case, the comp plan has been a great work, great amount of work, and it's a landmark when we get there. It takes us 2 years to do the budget. It takes us at least 2 years to do the comp plan, and that's a major accomplishment for us. And for the community, it starts, another way to think about it is it starts defining what University Place is, what we experience, what we think of ourselves, and how we express it. And all of that is wrapped up in the comp plan. I wanted to also recognize the good work of the Planning Commission and the many hours and lots of effort that they put into this as well. And they're a key player in this, in the comp plan specifically, though in other ways as well. And then I think, I'm not certain about this, but I believe most every other commission had some interaction in the comp plan process as well. And so it's a key opportunity for our commissions to engage in this bedrock document for us. So glad to have their help, and also ready to vote on this. Thank you.
Councilmember Grassi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to echo everyone's sentiment, my colleagues' sentiments of gratitude for just hard work, a long process, and also to our commissioners. It's a lot of extensive work, details, but also vision. Vision is so important, and that's what gets me excited about our city, where we've been and where we're going. And to echo Councilmember McCluskey's comments on our city's character, I think those are reflected here, and have the opportunity. I'm excited to where this document is going to take us, but it cannot be overstated the importance of having vision and having a quality plan. And I am just so proud that this is reflective of our community and our city. And I think our commissioners have just put in so much heavy lifting and work to have a vision put forward is just so remarkable. So thank you again for your work.
Mayor Pro Tem Wood.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, echo everyone else. Thank you. I very much appreciate the work that went into this for not just you and your team, but again, all the commissions, Planning Commission, and everyone else. And I just wanted to point out that the city you see today is a result of a comprehensive plan put together 10 or 15 or 20 years ago, including by some members of this council. So the fact that we have these sidewalks, this new structure, this town center, that all came from a vision 15, 20 years ago that is finally being realized today. And the plan you're doing now is going to take us into the next 15, 20 years, and that's great. Thank you.
Well, you know, it's really tough going last. After all these comments, fine comments, so I have nothing to say, but thank you. So we'll move on with a call for a motion to consider the adoption. So will you do a roll call, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Worthington.
Aye.
Councilmember McCluskey.
Aye.
Councilmember Fleming.
Aye.
Councilmember Grassi.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Wood.
Aye.
Mayor Figueroa.
Aye.
Mayor votes 6-0, unanimous.
Thank you. Mr. Brisky, now that you don't have anything to do because this took all your time, are you going on vacation?
No, there's more changes coming up from
Okay.
the state. The climate policy. Yeah, for one, yeah.
Okay, so we have item number 9, which is the city manager and council comments and reports. So our city manager, Steve Sugg, go first.
Mayor, Council, this Friday, the city's annual Christmas tree lighting ceremony is taking place in celebration. Doors in this building will open at 4:30. Actually, they'll be open for the library during the day, but officially the event kicks off at 4:30. Santa will arrive in the atrium at 5 o'clock. He arrives up Marketplace on a fire truck. Gets off the fire truck and comes into the atrium where he's available for photos with and for people to give Santa their Christmas list and wishes. And then at 6 o'clock promptly, I've been told, is that the annual tree lighting takes place with the countdown by the City Council. So we all look forward to that. And the event concludes around 7 o'clock in the evening. So again, this Friday, December 6th, once again, the annual tree lighting, which has been a tradition since cityhood. So, thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to take the privilege to go first before everybody goes. And there's a reason for that. I've noticed in the public we have certain young people here, which is very rare. And I know that this council really appreciates when people show up, especially our young folks. So who's the leader of the pack that can introduce the young folks that are here? Anybody among you that can speak up and say who you are and why you're here and the project?
I'm Jericho. We're all from the same school, so we're here to learn about civics and their civics class and just experiencing what our council meeting in university places like, and just learning about the civics process within different forms of government, down to base mayor and basic city.
Very nice. What school you mentioned?
Covenant High School down near Sherwood Street. It's here at Tacoma Boys.
Okay. Well, thank you for introducing yourselves and welcome. With that, just in case nobody got notified, but our council member Grassi is going to lead us in some singing on Friday.
Yes. Let it be so. Whatever the mayor says. This is my Christmas gift to the city. You'll never come again.
Before I forget, there's no council meeting. We usually have a meeting the first Monday and the third Monday of the month. We will not have our second meeting on December the 16th. City manager, I imagine on the website it's covered that there's no meeting. So just in case. With that, I don't have much. We've been doing so many things in this council to end the year without pushing too much work into the next year. But I do want to say that a lot of work has been done by this council this whole year to allow us to finish without having to have the last meeting at the end of the year. So that's always a good thing that we're not pushing it to the very last minute of the last meeting. That's always positive. And so I thank everybody here for all the work for this whole year on this council, for being part of the solutions. As Councilmember Fleming said, we go through a lot of debates, discussions, arguments, No hurt feelings, but certainly a lot of discussion, which is what is expected from our public, I think, to really discuss this. This is why we have these meetings, to openly have these discussions so people can see how we make our decisions. And I'm saying this for the young folks that are here to try to understand civics. And we go through many, many meetings to get to the point where we're at. And so there's a lot of appreciation for that, but like I said before, there's a lot of behind the scenes from staff that make this for us to make it easier for us to make those decisions and those arguments and discussions and debates. Our commissioners that are here, and we talked about them, they're all part of that solutions and having us bring recommendations and information and take a different look at the issues. And our community, who has been very vocal in many different issues through public meetings, study sessions, and things like that. So it's been a very successful year. So I'll then go to, let's start to the left over here with Councilmember McCluskey.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. Well, I don't have a whole lot to report this time, but I did go to, along with Councilmember Fleming, the Pierce County Regional Council meeting on November 21st. And the topic was unfunded mandates, election of officers, also the Transportation Committee needs a new chair, but also one of the things that they're taking up the baton again is fairness of the application and scoring process. So that's coming back to the table. Our mayor worked really hard on this. We thought we had a resolution and a permanent pathway forward, but alas, it's circling back. That's all I'm going to say about that. The Growth Management Committee has their 2025 work plan, and Planning Commission heads up new revisions to the countywide planning policies. Woohoo! You just finished. I know. Guess what? It's coming back again. And also with the House Bill 1181 for climate change as well. So I'm looking at your very fruitful Planning Commission plan for 2025. I'm going, there's no room, but hopefully you can squeeze these big heavy lifts in there as needed. Anyway, that's the we had some very few committee reports, but the Operations Committee had their 2025 work plan and other little ancillary comments, and that concludes the PCRC meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Very short report. I'd also, in addition to the students who are here, thank you for being here. I'd also like to retroactively welcome the Scouts of Troop 248 who were here for the first part of the meeting.
They didn't stay for the whole thing?
No, I know. Shock. But I nothing to report from the last 2 weeks. Next week, Friday, I'll be at the Pierce County Climate Conversation meeting, and we'll see if there's any. I'll let you know in January when we all finally meet again what came out of that. And also on Friday, I believe Trader Joe's is having its 20th anniversary celebration beginning at 10 in the morning. Mm-hmm. The mayor will be speaking, I understand. So come one, come all to that. And then finally, I'll see you out at the Christmas celebration. Thank you.
Councilmember Worthington.
Thank you, Mayor. A few things. Last week I chaired my last meeting of the Rainier Communications Commission. I've been chair for about 3 years. I've served for 5 or 6 years and some other years before that. During the course of that meeting, County Council Member Janie Hitchens was elected as the new chair. So welcome, Councilmember Hitchens, to that role. And then Scott Larson, the city administrator with Ording, is the vice chair or I think the proper term in that organization is vice president. And they'll be running the next series of meetings, and looking forward to having their help. They certainly have been very helpful and engaged in the number of years. I was going to mention in my time as chair, we did manage to do some things, and those things included rewriting the master franchise agreements, putting together a new interlocal agreement for all the member jurisdictions and getting that approved. And then last meeting we also have basically we have approval at the commission level of the new bylaws document, so that was done as well, though that'll be coming to us for further input and adoption as we go through that. So I was pleased about that. I do want to mention I had talked about this earlier this evening about cable franchise revenues and how the 12% or so that we are seeing is indicative of what's happening across the county, if not across the nation. And that impacts our budget a little. We're one of the strengths of the city is we have many, many different revenue streams, and some go up and some come down, and on the average things stay pretty close to the same. The Rainier Communications Commission has one revenue stream, and it is essentially tied to franchise fees. So there is some clouds on the horizon that will have to be sorted out. But we'll have some conversation about that in the future. And then to my colleagues, I wanted to mention that it's my intention to step off the Rainier Communications Commission next month. And during our retreat, if you have an interest, there's some opportunity to talk about that. But I think I have done the work that I've been proud of the work I've done. I think I've done what I can, and we'll look forward to the next challenge, whatever that might be. But usually we make those assignments during the January retreat. For everybody here and listening, I certainly wish us all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and looking forward to the fun and good times with the tree lighting coming up on Friday. So that's always a great day full of all kinds of energy. So look forward to that. But thank you. I think that's what I have for now, Mayor.
Councilmember Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I echo those comments in terms of it's hard to imagine how fast this year has gone by.
If you can speak to the mic, please.
Seems I'm speaking to the mayor at the moment, not the mic. No.
Thank you.
But, it has gone by very quickly, and it has been a good year, I think, for the city and for all the things we've accomplished. I just have a couple of quick comments. As Councilmember McCluskey pointed out, we were both at PCRC, which is the Pierce County Regional Council. I think she hit the highlights. I'll add just a couple of things. One is the legislative priorities for 2025 that the council has supported there. And I'll just hit a couple of highlights because they were big to the council, and we had a good conversation. And one is that continued investment in the SR 167 project, support and defending the Gateway project, and then Nisqually River crossing at the Jones setback levy, and planning for communities and fiscal sustainability. So it really dovetails along with what we've been working on here at the city and what some of the other commissions are working on too. The other comment I wanted to add is it was a real privilege in the last couple of weeks of working with our subcommittee on the commissioners' interviews and recommendations to council for appointment. The council made those appointments tonight. I just want to say that I can, having served on this committee now for some time, I can't recall how long, I am always impressed with how the candidates just get better and better and better. And I think the slate of candidates that the council now has approved will be quite pleased with the commitment and the dedication that they bring to the table, and just the enthusiasm that they have to serve and the passion to serve this community. It really showed in those interviews. So thank you for approving that slate, and that's all I have tonight. I likewise wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, and looking forward to 2025. So thank you.
Councilmember Grassi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to clarify, I will not be singing at the tree lighting this Friday evening. I don't want that to hinder any community members that are thinking of attending. Your ears will be saved. But I will be there and sing with the crowd, so thank you. Thank you to Covenant High School students for being here. My nephew is Riley Jennison, and so give him a shout out. And yeah, I know, let him know I said hello, but he should be here. But thank you for being here. I love seeing young people engaged and here, and so welcome, and thank you for being here. The rest of my comments really are just thank yous. We successfully, last Saturday, I wanted to thank the Chief and several of our public safety officers. We distributed from our church foundation right on 67th and Cirque 300 Thanksgiving meals to families in the UP school district. We were in partnership with Families Unlimited Network and the school district to feed 300 families, roughly 1,400 people in our community that are facing food insecurity, and have our officers and our chief there out slinging turkeys all morning long, making sure all of those meals got packed was wonderful. And for them to see our team, all of those volunteers that came and served, it was a wonderful event. And I'm so grateful to partner with our school district to make sure that every family had a meal that needed one. And then thank you. On Thanksgiving morning, I had the privilege of being at Curtis Junior High with our community Thanksgiving dinner provided for our community. It's a great tradition. It's the first time that we've been in person for a couple of years since COVID. So it was great to be Curtis Junior High with, and all the people that made that happen, Nicole Jovich, UP Refuse, Chef Derek Bray, our church foundation, the DMAC Foundation, but to meet these families and look them in the eye and have a meal together. One family, they're new to our community. It's their first Thanksgiving in the United States, and so it was wonderful to welcome them to our community and share a meal. So thank you for all of the volunteers that made that happen on Thanksgiving morning. And then finally, thank you to my fellow colleagues and city staff. This is officially my first year, wrapping up my first year here serving our community this way. So I just want to say heartfelt thank you to staff that have been mentoring me and helping me learn along with my colleagues. It's been the privilege of a lifetime to serve this past year with all of you. Thank you for mentoring me, each of you, along the way of how I've got to learn, and looking forward to serving our city and our community farther. And Merry Christmas. Echo everyone's sentiments. Look forward to Friday's tree lighting. So thank you, Mayor. That's all I have.
All right. Something unusual here. It's just a little bit. Now, hopefully you can bear with me. But I really have an interest with our young people, as we all do. I think they're our future, as we all know. And if the leader of the pack over there, I didn't catch your name, if we gave you an opportunity to come up, and you feel comfortable to come up and ask a question that would be useful for your group to report back to this council, you're welcome to come up and ask that one question, if you want to. I do have a question for you. Why did you pick University Place? Yeah. Will you turn the mic on for him? And go ahead and have a seat and ask your question.
Yeah, it's one of the areas we're more affected by, and it's closer.
Okay.
So it's merely a matter
Go ahead and have a seat.
dislocation. I guess
The hot seat.
if I did have one question to ask, I mean, of all the things, I mean, throughout, of course, we weren't here for like all the meetings you guys have had, but like throughout the years,
Can you move the mic closer to you, please?
Throughout the years that you guys have all had your council meetings, like which topic or like which challenge you guys have had to discuss would you deem like the most important and has had the most significant effect on just the people of University Place?
Good question.
I'll start, and I'll give the opportunity for each council member. You get a flavor of how we all think, similar or different. For me, it was the public safety levy that our community had to vote to tax themselves to provide public safety to our community. And it made a huge impact, not only on the safety of our community, everybody from young to old, but also our budget, as you heard me say earlier. So I'll start with Councilmember Grassi.
Great question. But I would agree with our mayor. Public safety is my top priority for our city, and I think everything kind of dovetails out of that. And for our community to come together, pass that levy, and to get more officers in our community, and also our school resource officer to be present in our schools for our young people. I think that was for me, the biggest priority this past year. So, thanks.
Yeah. Councilmember Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I likewise would echo that, but I would add one more comment to it. You know, public safety, obviously, number one, ensuring the safety and security of our citizens and the well-being. But the other is just budget. You know, oftentimes we take that term and that whole concept for granted, but without a good balanced budget, a good conservative budget that provides for the public safety, provides for our public works, and for other activities in our city that really makes University Place unique and make it what it is, it would be a tough road to hoe. And I know over the past several years, since the inception of the city, that budget has been a tough nut to crack at times, and I think the council overall has done a great job in getting it back into balance and getting, as the mayor pointed out earlier tonight, you know, paying off some of the debt that we've inherited over the years, and really streamlining things so that we're more efficient and certainly more in tune with what the needs of our community are. So those are things that weigh on my mind with that.
Yeah, thank you. Councilmember Worthington.
Thank you, Mayor. Certainly the public safety levy was important, and along with Councilmember Fleming, I think the budget issues that we were able to step up to were probably the central most important thing that comes to my mind, at least. So about 2014, we were faced with some series of deficit spending, perhaps related to the recession that occurred about then, just previous to that. And we had to reduce services. The city had previously reduced services roughly 4 or 5 years before because we just couldn't afford what we had going on. And we had to come to that realization to get the balance, to get the budget balanced. And then we tightened some other things, and we improved our credit rating. And then the credit rating gave rise to reducing our interest expense. And the reduced interest expense, paying off some loans, and having a little more cash to work with allowed us to build reserves. And now we get to pay off in 2026 a large chunk of our loans. What that does for us for the future is quite a bit. So I think it's that needing a solid financial foundation, and that gave rise to some other things such as the levy, the police levy or public safety levy, which is also a very key item for us. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Wood.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to shockingly say a lot of the same things here, but I'll keep it short. Obviously, the public safety levy, that was something I ran for council on, is to trying to grow public safety for this community. So I was very proud of that when it finally did pass, and it was a big ask of our community. Mm-hmm. Budget, again, I would agree with him on that. But what I think, and if I was the first person to answer the question, I would stop here. But to give you something a little bit different beyond just the nuts and bolts of budget and the levy, is that comprehensive plan document we just did, because we do all this budget and all this work in support of a vision, and setting the city vision, I think actually having a few minutes to think about it is just as important as the rest of it, so we know where we're going and we know what we're balancing the budget for. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember McCullough.
Okay, well, I feel your pain, Mayor, going last. But the public safety is extremely important, but you can't have public safety unless you have your financial viability. In 2010, as Councilmember Worthington indicated in detail, what dire straits our city was in at that time. Because of the hard work of our staff, the council at the time, our commissions, rolling up our sleeves, tightening the belt extremely tight so we could hardly breathe, we're able to pay down a large chunk of that debt so that we can loosen it up a few notches. And public safety, if you don't have public safety in your in your city what you have if you don't have that sense of security to freely walk the streets or to feel somewhat secure that your property is going to be safe. And I believe that we've turned that corner on it, and our citizens will feel safer as they're driving about the streets. Maybe our traffic will start to slow down a little bit with more police officers present, but also when there's a call to service, it will be more timely, especially on the lower level of the calls. The other part, and Mr. Sugg and I think, are in agreement with this, is the livability, the walkability, our healthy lifestyle, our community engagement, our events. If we don't get our community together, how, as a council as a whole, can really keep our thumbprint on what the citizens want and enjoy. And also, it empowers the citizens, hopefully, as the Councilmember Fleming indicated, the quality of people volunteering in our commissions. If they didn't value our city, if we didn't value ourselves to come together as a community at certain times of the year, I don't think they're going to have that enthusiasm for people to willingly volunteer their services. They're in-kind donations that are heartfelt, impassioned, and are extremely important for grassroots thoughts and visions to come up to the council level. It's the heartthrob of our city, and what made our city great when we became a city 30 years ago. So thank you for asking that question.
Thank you.
All right, well, there you go. I hope that you and your teammates will continue to have interest in government and civics, because is our society is made of. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck with everything in your classes.
Thank you.
Okay, folks, let's move on to, our study session. We're now into that, and we have item number 10, which is the City Commission's 2025 preliminary work plans. And we'll start with the Economic Development Advisory Commission, and Joshua Coots, Vice Chair of the Economic Development Advisory Commission, with Becky Metcalf, Business Outreach Liaison.
Okay. Appreciate everybody giving me the time today to talk to you for a bit. Really looking forward to the Christmas tree lighting this Friday. Looking forward even more to seeing your song. Hopefully it's on Instagram for all of us to see here upcoming. So, like the mayor mentioned, I'm Joshua Koontz. I'm the Vice Chair of the Economic Development Advisory Commission. So I'm going to talk a little bit about 2024 and the summary of what we accomplished, and then talk about our plan for 2025 as well. So in 2024, we continued to meet monthly as a commission. The commissioners attended ribbon cuttings, networking events with the business community members, taking advantage of these opportunities to learn more about local businesses and their experiences. I do want to take this opportunity to thank Becky Metcalf here. This was the first year that we had a home-based business networking event, so we had multiple of those. It's very easy to kind of focus on some of the brick and mortar businesses within University Place, and the home-based businesses are a major driver of some of the business licenses and a lot of the different businesses within University Place. So that was a cool opportunity this year that we started. So thank you to Becky for that. So in 2024, there were 12 ribbon cuttings that were held, and 4 of those networking events. We did take part in 2 separate projects, the 27th Street Business District Plan and the Wayfinding Signage Plan, having them the opportunity to provide input, feedback to those projects moving forward. And the commission as a whole also received reports on these projects as they progress, provided feedback to them. So In 2025, the plan is to revolve around strategies supporting City Council's 2025-2026 goal number 2, which is to enhance the quality of life for our residents and drive sustainable growth for our business districts. So I believe you have our 2025 plan. The first work plan items in this are the goal of strengthening the Commission's relationships with the business community through attendance at various events facilitated by the staff, including those ribbon cuttings, networking events like Partner Up and the home-based business receptions that I previously mentioned. And then also with the Planning Commission by including a liaison from the Planning Commission at each economic development meeting. Planning Commission often deals with issues that affect the business community, and the Economic Development Committee has the opportunity to provide feedback, keep current on Planning Commission work. Byron Poland is actually here tonight, who's been a great bridge to the Planning Commission, so just take the opportunity to thank him as well for that. The next 2 work plan items relate specifically to the district sub-area plans. The development of sub-area plans for each business district was recommended and implemented strategy included in the Regional Growth Center sub-area plan, which was adopted by City Council on November 20th, 2017. The EDAC, along with the Planning Commission, will participate and review the 27th Street Business District Plan. This project was undertaken in 2024 and will be finalized in the first quarter of 2025, and participate in the review and development of the Town Center Business District Plan. Project was kicked off late this year and will proceed throughout 2025 as well. Next work plan item is the continuation of a 2024 goal item regarding wayfinding signs. In 2025, the signs will be constructed and placed around University Place. The Commission will have the opportunity to comment and advise on the placement of these signs. And then finally, our final work plan item allows our commissions to increase the knowledge and awareness of the businesses that call UP home. In 2025, a report will be generated profiling the types of businesses within the community. University Place business profile will be reviewed at our meetings before coming forward to the City Council sometime in Q2 2025. So, Mr. Figueroa, you mentioned at the beginning of the meeting the efforts of the volunteers in these type of commissions. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank everyone on our commission as well about the work that is done, and just echo that as well as the work that is done. We are willing to add items to the 2025 plan as anything that the City Council may want our advice on. So just looking for questions or any feedback that you may have.
Great job.
Okay, before we continue with questions or comments and study, and that is that talking about volunteers, for a lot of people that don't know who's listening, our commissions are all volunteers. And not only that, each commission has a specialty that they focus on, and it's hours away, hours and hours throughout the years for some that have continued to be in the commission. But I'm just really happy that our community is involved in our commissions, because I know that we have had some vacancies we've had a hard time filling, as well as when I go out to other public officials from other towns, they don't seem to, they also have vacancies, but some of them don't get to fill them like we do. And it's important we have a full house at each commission, because it takes that many people to actually get the work done. So thank you for all your commissioners and being involved, and especially staff who keeps them involved and engaged with supporting them. So we'll move on to Councilmember McCluskey, raising her hand first.
All right, thank you, Mayor. I ditto Mayor's gratitude for all the commission's work that they have done in last year and in the past, and staff as well. I just have a comment. I was privy to some information that about a month ago, the 27th Business District is trying to resurrect itself. And there's a spark going, and so the Economic Development Advisory Commission might want to engage if they see fit to do that. Their intention is to create and encourage businesses along the way to redevelop their property in such a way that it has just street value, points of interest, so that they can encourage foot traffic and also make it a destination stop. So they're trying to figure out maybe events, maybe a way to create a specific character like Proctor. So they're having those discussions, which I think it might be really pertinent and relevant for the Economic Development Commission to at least be hearing what our business sector in that area, because they're trying to really clean it up and get it so that it's a place where people really want to come and spend some time there. And so I could see where along certain businesses, you could see that they are taking a lot more care of their property. There's a pride of ownership going on. I'm seeing percolating in certain property owners, and it creates a nice vibrancy. And I think right now it's just the start of that. If we could just help and implement them along and encourage them, whatever we can do, I would be all ears on the council, because I certainly would like to have a little mini Proctor on our 27th Business District, especially where it was our historical business district along the way, and some of our properties that are, a little underdeveloped, let's say, are now will be coming around, like 27th and Grandview. I think that could be something that could synergize the whole. Thanks.
Yeah, I will mention that the commission does have a business owner spotlight in every one of our meetings. So a business owner comes in, has the opportunity to sit in our meeting, but then also talk about their business with the commission, what they do, and how long they've been in business and whatnot. So it would be a great idea to add some businesses from that district, as well as I know that they are getting together like as a district to talk about that. So I think having somebody from our commission attend those meetings as well would be a really good idea.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Mayor Pro Tem Wood.
Thank you, Mayor. So first, a couple comments. I really appreciate the cross-commission work you folks are doing between you and Planning Commission. We're seeing that with some of the other commissions as well, and our community lives as a community. There's no reason our commission should be siloed. So I'm really glad you're working together to try and develop your plans. Very much looking forward to your sub-area district plan in first quarter for 27th Street. I really want to see how that goes. Same reasons that you were just discussing. And then finally, you ask, I'm not going to add a new task like that you would add to your list, but things that, as you talk to businesses, whether in your commission meetings or out in the community, generally speaking, if there are things you hear about the way UP could become more attractive to business or remove obstacles to business, if you can ensure to find a way to communicate that to council, that would help us as well in helping make UP a place that people want to be here and want to do business. So thank you.
Yeah.
I think we'll just go this way and finish up with you. Okay? So is that okay? All right. So just an FYI, and since I know members of another commission is here, so I don't repeat myself, but we will have, like we did this year, we'll have a luncheon that brings all the commissions together to just talk about things in general. And what Mayor Pro Tem talked about, that's a good time. Maybe everybody could be prepared to come and just talk about those things that we as council could just be informed of, that we can make it better. Some of these things that were mentioned from the McCluskey, and especially, and that is that we have 27th and Grandview, that open lot where the store and the library and all that is there. That has opened up for development. They finished with their, for better words, negotiations, and they're ready to move forward. And so that's going to be a big deal on for 27th District, as well as more as you see our open lot over here in the next 2 or 3 years. Hopefully we'll have the city's lots being built on, and we still have a lot of growth with commitments that are going to be here the next 5 years that will be built. I think that looking in the future doesn't mean that we have to wait until it's done to think about how do we create an environment as it's been built that can we can be talking about, studying, figuring out how we're going to budget it so that when it does happen, we're prepared for it. And so something to think about as well, especially around economic development. Okay. Councilmember Worthington.
Thank you, Mayor. Let's see. Well, and Chair Coates, thank you for your work and your commission members' work on putting together your work plan. I think you've laid things out well. I look forward to seeing the progress on it. I don't have any particular comments, but I will keep in mind the, if you will, the opportunistic idea that if there is something that comes up, either one of us can, meaning the council or the commission, could say, well, this is something we might want to take a look at. So appreciate that. Thank you.
Councilmember Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say thank you to you and the commissioners for truly the work you've done this year, and really look forward to 2025 and the work that y'all are doing. I think your focus is spot on. I think the things that you see as priorities as you're putting these pieces of the puzzle together are really in sync with where the council vision is for economic development in the city. And I think the things that you all put in place will really help spark, especially in that corridor. I mean, if you hear the comments that other council members have made with how underdeveloped that area has been, and how, you know, through this process we're going to revitalize that area, it's going to be an exciting year. You know, the thing I also want to point out is, as the mayor said, you know, I don't think people really appreciate sometimes the work that volunteers do, but yet you do a lot of that heavy lifting on our behalf, and I just want you to know, at least from my heart, that it never goes unnoticed, and just thank you for the hours that you all put in to make that happen. So thank you.
And the best for last, Councilmember Grassi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Maybe I will sing for you. No. I echo my colleagues' sentiments. Thank you so much. The hours and extra time, and you have your own life, and you've dedicated this time, and your commissioner's work. So thank you. Thank you, Becky, for your hard efforts with our business community. Really like this work plan, and also I'm excited about the review of the community profile, business profile. I think that's going to be very helpful, and a great time to get that rebooted. I did have one question. When you, and maybe you don't have the answer to this, but when you're doing the business spotlight in your commission meetings, which I think is a fabulous idea, and talking with businesses, what is the number one need? Is there a number one need or number one concern, something that you hear over and over again, similar to Mayor Pro Tem's comments about what we'd like to know, but is there something that you're hearing right now that we may not know, that you hear is a consistent hinder or need from our businesses?
Excuse me. So it's not really a hindrance on like licensing or something that coming into the city. It's really just awareness usually that there's a lot of people within University Place. They don't want that money leaving University Place. They want the awareness out there so that people know that they're there, so they continue to spend their money within University Place. And that's really kind of the efforts in the wayfinding signs and that type of stuff that we're working on is usually just trying to build that awareness. If you have anything else, Becky?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Any comments from either one of you you'd like to express now? Very good. Okay, then. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks. And next is our Planning Commission. Stephen Smith, our Vice Co-Chair of the Planning Commission, with Kenneth George, our Planning Manager for the City of University Place.
Good evening. Mayor Figueroa, Mayor Pro Tem Wood, and all the council members. It's my pleasure to be here tonight. I'm Steve Smith. I'm the co-chair on the Planning Commission. I'd also like to point out that it's mentioned prior that Byron Poland is also here. He serves on our Planning Commission, and he's our liaison to the Economic Development Committee. So he does yeoman's duty on those tasks. I also bring greetings on behalf of our chair, David Graybill. He is not in town. He had the call of a duty that many love and can't resist. Time with his grandkids back on the East Coast. So we're thankful for all of his leadership that he provides for us and the work that we do. So for 2025, the Planning Commission is recommending 5 areas of work based on council directions, based on state mandates that require plan or regulations, regulatory amendments, and advice and input from the staff in the Economic and Development Office. And those areas are our middle housing implementation, the 27th Street Business District Plan, the Town Center Business District Plan, and development regulations, zoning code work to update, and also on the critical area ordinance. I'm not back in my Planning Commission mode yet because it's like I don't have to do these words all the time. There's interesting combinations that we put in here, but it's always great. And also we're looking at an R3 zone overlay development. So we'll start walking you through these, and that they're up here on the screen as well, and that you've had a chance to look at. So right now, the middle housing implementation, this is from House Bill 1110, commonly known as the state's middle housing bill, and the Planning Commission will review development regulations that ensure University Place complies with the Growth Management Act changes resulting from House Bill 1110. So the city was awarded a grant from the Washington Department of Commerce to help develop and implement this work. And compliance is required by June 25, so we'll be bringing that to you soon. Makers has been contracted as our consultant on this project, and we are well into this. A lot of learning that's going on, and this helps with the city's goal of working towards affordable housing goals. So that will be taking us in our first quarter of work. Also, right now, we'll be working on the 27th Street Business District. A lot has been just commented about that work. So that is the next district that we have in our work plan. It's our sub-area plan under the Regional Growth Center. Following the completion of the Northeast Business District Plan in 2023, the Planning Commission will review the draft 27th Street Business District Plan this quarter. And a citizens advisory group was formed to help in the development of the plan, and staff, consultants, and advisory groups have been working on the plan through 2024, and so we look forward to bringing that to you soon. And this will be work that also underscores and supports your goal on economic development. Mm-hmm. And then moving to the Town Center District Plan, we'll begin that in the second half of the year. And the Town Center Plan, it's the last... Thank goodness. It's the last district we're working on, but it's a very important one, as it's the heart of our center. I was thinking when the students were here and he asked a really great question about, what is it that you think some of the great work that is done by the council to make the city where we are. I had the privilege of serving on the fundraising committee for the library when that went underway, and when we held the grand opening for that day was just, it burns in my memory of so many people coming into this town center area and to use a library. And that was also at an age where people were going, everything's digital now. We really need books and mortar places. We wouldn't go to this other space. But while the library was in its temporary facilities, down on 27th, it was just packed. You go in there any time of the day, and it was packed. You looked at the grand opening, it was another big thing. And so we've got a great community, and those are kind of things that it's really glad to be part of that really makes this place click. It's a very special and unique city. And so having a chance to keep building up the town center as a sort of regional community space, our living room, this is really a wonderful opportunity. And we'll keep that kind of spirit in mind as we go through this process as well. So that's a lot that's going to happen there. We'll have a consultant to work with us on this plan, but that consultant has not been identified at this time. And so we'll keep working forward on that. And then the Planning Commission, as I tell people, it's a great place if you want to figure out if you have insomnia and you need to try to get to sleep. There's some opportunities for you here. So the development regulations, zoning code, update, and critical area ordinance. When I started this on the Planning Commission, I thought, oh my gosh, this stuff is really detailed and but then you get into it and you realize, well, the quality of life that we have springs from this. So this is very important work that we are doing. And under the Growth Management Act, it requires us to periodically update the city's comprehensive plan. Seems like you just are finishing it and then it's sort of coming back around to start all over again. But that's the way that works. And it's important work. And so I'm glad that we're able to do this and provide that input to the council for decisions that you want to make around this. We will begin reviewing the city's development regulations, i.e. the zoning code, and the critical areas ordinance, and if necessary, update zoning codes so it is consistent with the updated policies in the 2024 comprehensive plan, and will also include various other minor state required updates. And the requirements are under RCW 36.70A.130. And then lastly, with the R3 zone overlay development, this work will be looking at our housing options. So the city has this housing action toolkit, the HAT, that was adopted in 2021. It recommends that the city explore development of residential R3 zone overlay to provide additional middle housing opportunities in the city. The city currently has 2 low-density zoning districts, Residential 1, R1, and Residential 2, or R2, that allow for detached single-family units with accessory dwelling units. In coordination with the Middle Housing Project, House Bill 1110 that was mentioned earlier, the Planning Commission will explore development of an R3 zone or overlay district to see how best to integrate additional middle housing regulations into the appropriate areas of the city. And again, this work will help support your goal under affordable housing. That's our work for the year.
Thank you. We'll go around the table here, but again, thank you. There's a lot of thought that has gone through this, and including finishing the products that you were finishing, and then to start looking at the future is a real task. And thank you for doing that. And so we'll just go ahead and just open it up for any comments or questions or debate or suggestions from council. So who would like to go first?
Okay.
Councilmember Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll just be really brief. But Steve, again, echo the same comments to your commission as the others. Thank you for your work that you've done. Thank you for laying out a very beautiful, succinct plan that the council can follow. And I, along with others, look forward to watching this plan evolve and, taking ideas and concepts and converting them to realities for the city. But again, thank you for the hard work and your leadership and the rest of your commission. We so appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Excuse me. Councilmember Worthington.
Thank you, Mayor. And Vice Chair Smith, thank you for being here and for the many years that you've been engaged. Now you stepped off and came back. It's great to see you again, and I appreciate your continued help. this looks like a great list. Certainly a lot of work, a lot of important work, and I'm glad you're there and your commission members there to get it done and work on it for us. There's two items I had some, not questions so much as comments about. One is on the missing middle housing. SB 1110, you may know this, but I just want to make sure that the commission is aware of this. There is a bit of debate between how that gets interpreted, at least in certain respects, about what is a housing unit. And that debate is between the staff with the state and the AWC staff and many of the AWC member cities. Not all, but many. And so I'm not sure what role there would be there for the commission, but and if you haven't heard this, I'm sure that Kenneth or the rest of our team may be able to give you some details. How that interpretation gets done is important because it may make something that is workable unworkable, at least in certain people's minds, mine for one, but other people too. So maybe perhaps we can get you some information on that. Perhaps we can link arms and do something about it as well. Councilmember Fleming may be familiar with this work in the AWC Legislative Committee. It's actually in their rulemaking process. The other thing is, on the development regulations, I had a question for Kenneth. In our tree protection ordinances, we talk about diameter, or maybe it's circumference. I get the two confused, I'm sorry. But is that in this section of the code that the Commission is going to be working on later this year?
Not particularly. It can be. We'll have to take a look at the development regulations to see what requirements we need to change. So off the top of my head, I don't recall if there is a requirement that we'll need to make those. And it is diameter.
Yeah, right. And so our code there's other alternatives to the end product. Mm-hmm. And one of those alternatives is to specify important species and pay attention specifically or particularly to those, as opposed to the diameter of the trunk. And the outcomes can be different. It means saving some things more and putting a higher value on them. Then all trees may not have the same value. A sequoia doesn't have the same lifespan as a cottonwood. And if we treat them the same way, we probably are missing the point, as one example. So perhaps one of my colleagues and I can get together and talk about a legislative proposal, because the timing would be good on this. So if that is a section of the code that the Planning Commission is looking at working on. And so I'm glad to know about that possible opportunity. That's all I have, but again, also with others, thank you very much for the good work. And nice job on the comp plan too.
And thank you. So on the middle housing, we've been coming up to speed on that because it's a new concept. Mm-hmm. And I think what's always driving in my mind, at least, is also 20 years from now, what is that going to look like? Mm-hmm. And what will the city be, and where will we be, and will it just be all of a sudden just stuff just packed in? And that's not... Well, there's density, there's things that will happen, but we also want to make sure the aesthetics, the attractiveness, the curb value, all those things work well. There's some places that you can go and you can see where housing was put in, but there's like no space to do anything. There's no yard, there's no place for kids to play, there's no, it's just because it's so stacked up. Yeah. So we want to be careful with that and understand that there are a lot of, or actually just trying to come to terms with what does that really mean, and then what does that begin to look like, and what does it look like in our community. Mm-hmm. But that is an important question. Thank you.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Mayor Pro Tem Wood.
Thank you, Mayor.
Does he have my name?
No, I have your
Yes,
name.
Okay.
So my comments were just quickly. First, this plan looks ambitious. It's the amount of work you folks have chosen for yourself, I think, is impressive, and I congratulate you for it. I wish you well, because there's a lot here. And I particularly appreciate the way you are now taking the comprehensive plan, which you guys worked on, and are now going to start realizing that vision by breaking it down into what can we actually do as a city to get there. I'm very excited about the middle housing and R3 zone discussions. I want to see where that goes because it's a major concern, honestly, nationwide. But how we handle it here, and I'm really glad to hear you talk about the livability aspects of it, not just slapping in the quantity of housing. That's actually really good to hear from me. And then finally, just on your comment about zoning, the insomnia stuff. People sometimes ask me what do I like about city council, and I tell them honestly, I like the opportunity to geek out over zoning codes. So thank you for the work you do for that. I appreciate it. That's all my comments.
Councilmember McCluskey.
All right, thank you, Mayor. I'm glad you went down memory lane on the library. That was huge, and it reinvented itself, and it's still viable and thriving, and there's a lot of foot traffic because of how they reconstructed their vision and how they fit into the footprint of the future for people's needs in many different facets and in different ways. And you're right, it is a great community asset to have in our city, especially at our town center, the heart of our city. The tree policy. Thank you, Councilmember Worthington. I would love to, I know you have a healthy work plan going on, but I would love to dive deep into our tree policy. I think there's places in it that could be dusted off, re-looked at, and make it a better policy overall for our city. And I also enjoy and feel confident now, more in the Planning Commission, that they are a visionary that actually visions how people are going to live in our city, along with the constraints of the policy making, and that you are looking at greenbelt areas, places for children to actually thrive and be in our city as we densify into that. That's really important. We have a fantastic school district, and I would like the children to live in our city as they go to our school district and not be sectioned out because there's no livable place for them to come home to. And so I don't want a lot of out-of-district kids moving into our district. I want in-district kids to make that format a viable place. And I'm glad you're looking at that as we densify, as we continue with some of our apartment developments and going into the missing middle housing, which we identified well over 10 years ago as a great need in our city to pursue. So I'm going to be really excited to listen to the outcomes of the R3 zoning for that, for the missing middle. And also my comments with the 27 business corridor. There is something percolating there that I think is really exciting. Just like the library, it's going to garner and gather a lot of people and to create and I'm glad that we have a liaison to the Economic Development Committee to bring it back to the Planning Commission to further the development of the vision for the 27 business district comp plan that you're that you're working on in your work plan. So I don't know how you're going to breathe throughout the next year, but I do encourage you to take a moment every once in a while to breathe deeply and march on. Thank you for all of your hard work and enthusiasm for our city.
Hear, hear. Thank you. Councilmember Grassi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I echo a lot of the sentiments of Councilmember McCluskey, specifically to livability and your conscious thought to that. I just want to thank you for your service, and Mr. Graybill, and also Byron, thank you for being here this evening and your work across with other commissions. I think that is wonderful to have people serve on our commission, but it's also really important to have the right people in the right seat on the bus, and I just think that you are the right people for this commission. So thank you for your time. I loved how you also, this is a lot of heavy lifting, and as everyone has said, but that town center district, the town center district is near and dear to my heart, as they all are in 27th Street, but like you, I have a lot of vision here that I've seen come to fruition and more, and how you describe that as our living room of our city, I really think, for me, really hits the heart of what this area is and what can be. So thank you for your past and your future vision for our city. I'm really excited to see this year's work come together. Thank you.
Okay. Just a couple of comments. You're talking about the packing of homes and how's it going to look like and feel 20 years from now. I call it consequences of our decisions now. Whatever we do now, we won't know the actual consequences until 20 years from now, 15 years from now. But we need to try. That's what we do, right? Is what are the consequences? I would like to see what those are from the commission's perspective and staff perspective. If you recommend for us to study and look at certain things that you're saying this is how to do middle housing based on the laws, I think that there should be a consequence column. If you do this is going to be, the consequence would be more noise, less trees, more neighbors arguing and getting into each other's business because they're closer, public safety, fire, infrastructure, quality air. I know there's even, as we are not even middle housing occurred yet, we hear about people having air quality issues because of fire pits or whatever. So I think that as we all look at this next steps about middle housing, we really need to understand this is really good. This is good stuff that's going to happen, and this is the potential consequences that could happen. And I think we need to really see that up front as we make decisions. So I hope that you are able to bring that forward when you do bring us recommendations. The other one, and thank you for highlighting it, is in your first column there, you outline the goal number 2, number 4. I think that's really beneficial. I really appreciate that, whoever came up with that, because we do wonder, I wonder, what the work that every commission is doing, what goals is that work applying to? Because it gives an idea of how that is happening. So I do appreciate that. So with that, any other comments or none? Okay.
I just would like to add, if I could, a moment.
Sure.
So I think also our work in the health and all policies component, I think our work helps contribute to that as well, because housing is a major component. I have done a lot of work with people who are homeless, who are trying to get back into a stable life, and it is very difficult without having a solid home base. And so as we think about this middle housing piece, it really is vital to the health of the community as well. That piece is important. And then just on I think as you're talking about what things look like in the future, when I first joined the Planning Commission some years ago, we were a community that was very focused on single-family homes and to stay that way. And now we have density where we have apartments and condos and those pieces coming together. So a community can change. It can say, how do we make the best of things? I think part of our task is to, because I remember the Growth Management Act, and we're sort of saying, here's how many people university has to plan for, university place has to plan for, this amount of growth. And we're like, that's not our growth. That was my struggle with trying to figure out how that all comes together. But there are some plans that help us move forward and help us become a better community and to accommodate the folks. And I think the important thing around the middle housing component really is the word affordable. Because we have, housing options for some people are just growing more and more out of reach with where the economics lie for them. So the economic development, we have great growth in that. We can help sustain people and support them. As one person on our commission would say, a person that works in University Place should be able to live in University Place. And I think that's sort of I like that kind of statement, that that's a North Star, that there's options that we have for housing. We can figure out how to do that. It's a lot of work, and we don't know what it's going to look like or what it's going to mean. But I think if we work hard and we sort of say this is for community, and that we lift up community as this is an important piece for us creating a healthy and wonderful place to live, that we will find our way forward and we'll find our way through, and people will embrace, because here's where we are, here's where we need to go, and we'll figure out a way to get there. And so our task is to help identify what are some ways that can come, and then to provide leadership and get us there.
Okay, one more time. Anyone else here? Last comment for me, and that is, I think it's important we all recognize that commissioners can't work comfortably or intelligently unless staff supports them properly with respect, with information, resources, availability. I know many times that in other jurisdictions that staff isn't exactly the best staff to commissioners, and there's trouble and chaos and work doesn't get done. In 15 years I've been in this council, I've never heard of that happening in this city. So congratulations to all, but especially our staff that has to maneuver all their work and with the commissions. And it's done, the work that everybody does, every commission does, is because I think a lot of it is of what they're able to do because of the staff support. And Mr. Zug, really appreciate your staff staying on task with our commissioners to make them feel valuable, respected, and be able to produce work and recommendations to us. So thank you very much. So with that, there's no other, we have one more line item here. Thank you very much. Is item number 11, Hazard Mitigation Plan Update. Staff is Lisa Paterick, Administrative Services Director. And this is the last item for the year. And so Ms. Paterick, Ms. Paterick, she requested this to be on 6 months ago. She's been like waiting, and here you are, the last item of the year. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that introduction, Mayor. Good evening, Council. I wanted to provide tonight a brief overview of the plan goals and timeline to update the Pierce County Hazard Mitigation Plan that covers the years 2025 through 2030. So as you can see, there are 6 directives that provide the purpose and goals of a hazard mitigation plan, and you can see those on your screen. The hazard mitigation plan are actions taken to reduce or eliminate the long-term risks to people, property, or the environment from various hazards. The planning process is a way for us as a community to determine the best means of how to mitigate those posed risks within the community. The City of University Places plan, and I have it here. This is just the city's addendum to the Pierce County plan. It's over 200 pages, but it covers a wide variety of information. We last did a mini update of the plan, if you recall, in 2023. We provided some information to update lessons learned from the pandemic, and also to provide more information regarding the Day Island Bridge for our grant work that is still continuing. So as you can see, it's a pretty hefty plan. There are 7 sections of the hazard mitigation plan. The first section is the process, and this really outlines the FEMA guidelines and regulations that are required in a hazard mitigation plan. Included in this plan is also the community profile, which covers demographics and other important factors regarding specificity to University Place. The third section in this plan discusses the city's capabilities in responding to certain emergencies. The major portion of the plan is Section 4, and that covers risk. And so this is where most of the plan contemplates the various risks that are posed, such as earthquakes, floods, man-made types of disasters. Section 5 covers the mitigation, so this is where we develop strategies to deal with those risks. And then 6 and 7 involve just maintenance of the plan and review of the plan. In addition to providing a community overview and developing strategies for how to mitigate various hazards that can impact a community, a hazard mitigation plan is a requirement to receive federal funding from FEMA, either through grants or for after disaster types of funding recovery requests. So that's why it's very important to have a plan in place that's approved by FEMA and that is up to date. So we are at the very start of this year-long process. You can see from the timeline here, we're in the fourth quarter, which is of 2024. Pierce County has held one countywide mitigation planning introduction meeting. We have our second meeting planned for next week. With that, in your packets, there is a letter that we would like to provide to the county just showing our commitment of participating in this year-long process to update the plan and develop new hazard mitigation strategies. So in your letter, you'll see some of the minimum requirements that we're providing are identifying staff representatives for the City of University Place, which is myself and Jennifer Hales, also other members of the West Pierce Emergency Management Coalition. If you recall, the West Pierce Emergency Management Coalition includes the City of University Place, the City of Lakewood, the Town of Steilacoom, and West Pierce Fire. That coalition was formed because we have slightly different hazards posed to our communities right next to the water than maybe East Pierce County does. And plus we're neighbors and we can have some mutual benefits there. So we're hoping that after tonight we can have a council head nod that yes, we want to participate and move forward in this process. The other first step was an initial survey that was put out by the coalition just to gather some very basic information from the community, asking about what sort of hazards folks in our communities are worried about, how much folks feel that they are educated on these types of disasters that could be posed in a community, including some other demographic information like languages spoken, things like that. So that's the work that has been done so far, but the real work begins next year. And for the first quarter of 2025, all of Pierce County plans to review their own risk assessments and review those. We will start looking at mitigation strategies and start discussing with one another outreach strategies on how to educate the community on the hazard mitigation plan and start getting feedback from the community on what concerns that they have. So some of those outreach strategies would include connecting with the current commissions that the city has, getting feedback and information from them, talking about the hazard mitigation at public events, and potentially holding neighborhood-specific types of meetings over the course of next year to receive specific feedback for various neighborhoods in the community that have specific concerns. The second quarter of 2025, the city would work on developing any new mitigation strategies that would come out of some of those discussions. There might be some considerations that aren't currently in our hazard mitigation plan that we may hear about from these outreach meetings. So we would develop new strategies for those, determine some cost assessments for those, and add those in the plan. And then third quarter is where the plan gets finalized, so to speak, in enough of a form that it gets sent to the state for FEMA to review. It takes about a month to 6 weeks for the state to review the county plan with all the addendums attached to it. Once that occurs, FEMA will provide a letter saying that they approve of the plan, and that at that point, during the fourth quarter, it's proposed that the plan would go to the various council bodies for review and adoption. Of course, during this year-long process, we expect staff to come back to council to provide updates throughout the year of what we've been hearing from the community, some of the mitigation strategies that we're thinking of adding to the plan, and getting some feedback from you on what you would like to see, what you think is important, and other items like that. So that's the initial timeline. And just as a reminder, these are the partners that we work very closely with during the year-long process in updating the hazard mitigation plan. Again, the West Pierce Emergency Management Coalition, we will be doing most of the work together on the community outreach and the specific mitigation strategies for our own communities. Pierce County oversees the entirety of the process. They provide most of the FEMA guidelines and feedback. So countywide, FEMA recommendations will be done by the county. And then, of course, the state's involved, FEMA, and so those are the partners that will regularly be included in the meetings for the next year. So with that, we're at the very start of our process, and that concludes my report.
Okay. Comments? Yep. Councilmember Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Lisa, we on the partners here, we list West Pierce separate and as an entity, but in this process of partnerships, where does the Sheriff's Department or law enforcement fit in?
They are included in the county-wide review, and there are certain sections that contemplate public safety aspects that a community could face in terms of hazards. So they are heavily involved at the county level. We've had discussions within our own West Pierce Emergency Management Coalition. So Jennifer is our public safety liaison. She has those conversations with the University Place Police Department. So she would have those discussions as well for any UP specific type of concern.
So in having that seat at the table, does Jennifer then represent our law enforcement component? That one?
Yes.
Okay. And then, looking at the quarterly plan that you have and those milestones along the way, are there some intermediary milestones in which either you or the working group would be back to brief council as to where you are?
Yes.
And how are those established?
We will be talking about that after the first of the year. So we're still in the planning process, and we'll determine if we do those on a quarterly basis and what that would look like. So we'll let you know.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember McCluskey.
Okay, thank you. Is there any indication of incorporating forecasting into the overall plan? In the hazard mitigation plan?
What type of
forecasting? Well, for example, in the emergency preparedness of a section of a community, there could be an advantage of forecasting. I'll use the example of Day Island. The barometric pressure, the king tides, the whatever seismic activity that could be going on, that could, the forecasting of that. So there's a pre-warning. I know that's always helpful to get a community on higher alert than they would normally be as they're living their daily life, and to create that as part of the overall action plan for it.
I can see that as being one of the strategies for mitigation. So when you were speaking, one thing that came to mind is the Maishe Gap. as another example.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, so there are opportunities for that in the mitigation plan, and we can get as specific as we want. So if there are certain communities that would like that type of forecasting, we would love to hear about that because we can add that to the plan.
Yeah. And in your outreach to the community meetings, do you have specific areas of our city that you're going to be bringing like a coalition to get the citizens engaged where they're at?
Yes, we would like to bring the West Perth emergency management team to various areas of the city. There has been discussion about also visiting Jennifer Holt's the multifamily housing meetings because they have different needs being in multifamily housing units, in addition to like Sunset Beach community, Day Island that has flooding, versus maybe some other areas of the city that are on the canyon that might have some concerns about wildfire with urban interface. So we plan to kind of look at the city and potentially divide it into either populations or areas that might be facing specific concerns just to that area.
Right, thank you.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Wood.
Thank you, Mayor. So we'll first start with the question. The UP addendum, now that we're part of this West Pierce Emergency Management Coalition, how much coordination is going on to make our addendums between, say, City of Lakewood, City of DuPont, and University Place, or whoever else is involved, not DuPont, but Stillicum, look alike or cover the same areas? What kind of effort is going on there for coordination?
We will be talking about how we do that over the first quarter of next year. The thing about these plans is they're highly specific to the area, so I don't know if we necessarily want to. Obviously, the things that can be similar will be similar, but I think we want to maintain the uniqueness to the community as well.
And actually, that was my concern or point. I want to make sure that we don't just have one big joint thing, that we are unique to UP, and yet supporting each other in our efforts. So good, thank you.
Right.
Second, I'm really glad to hear about the ongoing the education or the outreach to the public regarding hazard mitigation. And I would like to ask that somehow we find a way to include either as part of this or the overall emergency management plan. How do we do that on an ongoing basis after this plan is done? Because we have people move in and out of this community all the time, and a lot of them move in with no idea of the particular hazards particular to this area. And they probably should have a way of knowing and how that outreach goes over time. I think that would be important. And finally, it's not sitting in front of me, but we just talked about it a couple weeks ago, the Public Safety Commission and their work plan. This sounds like a great opportunity for them to engage, especially since you're doing all this public outreach. I don't recall if this was part of their work plan, but if it isn't, maybe you and Jennifer and we can talk about that, because this is really a major public safety outreach, and I definitely think they should be involved.
And Jennifer does have plans on talking to them about this.
Okay, good. Glad to hear that. All right, concludes my comments, Mayor. Thank you.
Councilmember Worthington.
Thank you, Mayor Figueroa. Couple of things. So when we think about the West Plains Emergency Management Coalition, is that right?
Yes.
We're the only municipality in it?
The City of Lakewood and the town of Stillicum are also included.
Are also in it. I didn't see those on the partner list. Okay, and so do they have their individual plans, and we are a subset in the planning process, not in a, okay, thank you, that helps me. So, and that's why you started by saying, so this helps identify the city's capabilities as opposed to the coalition's capabilities.
Correct.
Okay, that was another question I had, so got it now. And when was this done last?
This last was done in 2020. We had our mini update in 2023.
And I think that included some work to help support some grant activity, but yeah.
That's correct.
All right. And then this will have more of that, I assume. Glad to hear about the potential of having the Public Safety Commission, Public Safety Advisory Commission engaged in this. Seems to be a good addition. And you've answered my questions about other municipalities. So in that coalition, we have Steilacoom and Lakewood, which you probably mentioned, but I had missed that, so thank you. And we do share the water, we share the water and a few other common geography issues. Okay.
Train tracks.
Yeah, train tracks, right. And what gets transported on them, and yeah. Good, okay. Thank you. That's all I need.
Councilmember Grassi, do you have any comments? Okay. My comments are, there's a few, and it's just like, will there be a cost analysis as this moves forward or at the end to what the cost may be to the city?
Yes, so there are cost estimates that are included in all of the mitigation strategies. And so we can provide a tally of what those potentially could cost. Obviously, we wouldn't be able to do everything all at once because we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars probably.
Right.
But we will try to, with grants and various things that come our way, tick off some of the easier ones that we can do before an emergency happens.
Okay. There was a mention about who can be part of this to get it done. And I think there was a question about updates. I think just a couple of suggestions for the updates that we may talk about later, and that is we're having a commission luncheon, hopefully in May, and so maybe that's a good time to do update to them as well as maybe get some feedback, as well as the retreat in June, the second retreat. We may be able to have an update. And then the last comment is I signed, and this is probably for the city clerk, I signed the letter that would be going to the county, and but it's dated, I just noticed here, it was brought to my attention, it's dated 2025.
Nope. We will make that modification.
So if you do, I'll figure out how to get it signed. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay. That's all I have. So one more round. Anyone else? Ms. Pretoric, anything else?
No, thank you so much.
Okay.
Looking forward to this year-long process.
Thank you for your work. Okay, we're doing really well since it's the last meeting, and for the good of the order, is there any particular comment that you'd like to have before we adjourn? Anyone?
See you next year.
Okay, we'll see you next year. And we do have some activities that we're all going to be attending, and we'll see you at those activities. And the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing this.
You did forget to tell me something.
Happy to have it with